extraordinaire, the gemologist.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. Amy and I talk about BSercon. You will hear us talking and somewhat spontaneous. About 2 minutes in, there's some cussing and some technical difficulties. If you want to skip that, you can go to about 2 minutes, hit 15-minute twice, and 15-second fast forward twice and skip that. You might miss some funny things, but that's your prerogative. Anyway, here comes Amy and I. Hello everyone and welcome to the Geomologist Presents, another special treat and show for you today, because I do better when I have someone else talking and not just me. But today I have my wife Amy.
Hello.
And she and I are going to, as I back out of Sprouts parking lot, are going to talk about BSercon. We had BSercon this past weekend, January 21st through the 23rd, something like that. Or was it 20th to the 22nd? Anyway, we participated in BSercon. We played some games together. I ran a game. We each participated in 5 games, and we're going to talk about them. So how you doing today, Amy?
I'm doing really well because we went to the new Sprouts, found all kinds of fun stuff.
I know Amy's a coupon crazy lady. She saved. Oh look, it's. I thought all the skateboarders moved, but no, it's just Dave's Hot Chicken. Looks like it's crowded. I'll have to check it out someday. Anyway, and Torchy's, Torchy's. Austin Tacos, meh. So, anyway, what was I saying?
About my couponing.
Oh yes, Amy's coupons. She saved $68.13 with coupons today, which is crazy to me.
It's vegan food. It's expensive.
Yeah, I guess vegan is expensive or organic is expensive, but you know how it is.
I don't know what the exact term is, but we're not vegan, but we don't eat just meat. I don't know what term that is.
I think a balanced diet is probably the correct term. Balanced diet?
I think so.
All right, well, enough about groceries and organic and healthy eating. I mean, I'd say the conspiracy theories would want you to just eat McDonald's every day and then they can treat you for diabetes later in life. But anyway, let's talk about BSercon.
I'm for that.
Ladies first, so maybe you can start. Maybe you can start with your Friday games.
I did. Bark, bark.
Or maybe we should give an overview of what games we played, and then we'll go back and forth. So go ahead and give an overview of the games you played, then I'll give an overview, and then you can talk about why you're squawking.
Okay, my first game was Savage World's Chicken in the Mist. It was so fun. It says trying to get a journalism scholarship brought you and your other friends along. I can't do this, Carl. The sun's in my eyes and I can't read.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, so getting a scholarship so that I can go to Texas A&M. I'm not quite out of high school yet, so if you can imagine, it's like all the smart kids and the jocks, and we're trying to go take down this, I'll call it chicken fighting range, because I don't know if I can say that word in your podcast, Carl. Can I say that in your podcast?
Cockfighting? Yeah, you can say cock.
Yes, it's cockfighting.
You can say cock.
Anyways, I'm trying to take down a cockfighting ring, and I'm a journalism student, and I know those bad boys, they're cockfighting, and they're doing all kinds of bad stuff at their ranch, and so it's the ETU, I guess you could say, module. However, the GM told me something very interesting, that the Chickens in the Mist is actually something that was written for Savage Worlds before Pinnacle even bought it, so the old rules. But we ran it with the new suede rules. It was a lot of fun. And so we started playing, and we get together, so it's me. There's this one jock that he can drive, but he's just not that smart. And there's one other guy with us, and I know he could fight with things. I don't know if he was a jock necessarily or just a smart guy that could shoot a gun. But we went out, we went to this farm, we found the cockfighting ring. But you know what, Carl? Oh, the chickens were dead.
Wow.
And the roofs were torn off, and everything was everywhere. But there was this beautiful car. It was a sedan. It is just decked out to the nines. No high school student can afford a car like that, right?
Oh, if they're rich?
Yeah.
They got rich parents?
I wouldn't say that they were rich. They owned a chicken farm. And then there was an F-150 that had its headlights on and windshield wipers going because it was raining. And it had everything. You know, those big speakers and the big tires and the hitches to pull everything. There was no one there. A little bit of blood on the ground and then the key fob in the truck. So we did what any high school student would do.
Stole the car?
We didn't steal it. We were very specific about that because the other kid was on the debate club. So we debated it. We decided if we're just borrowing it to try and get it back to the house and find the people that might be injured, it wasn't technically stealing. So we got in the truck and we went and we had our adventure and we had to fight off chicken A and chicken B, and they kept getting bigger. And then we found the lab in the back where they were growing large chickens. And then you know what happened?
About the big chicken.
10-foot chicken. And we did everything that a high school student would do with a big truck. Ran it over. After we got it, I don't even remember how we got its head off, but it went flying in the air, and as we're driving, the chicken head landed in the back of the truck, and we whisked off to the police.
Wow.
But everyone else was dead. But it was quite fun and exciting.
That's crazy. Yeah, I played 2 games on Friday. I guess we're talking about each day instead of an overview. But I played 2 games on Friday. I played a game of Harn. I've run a lot of Harn, and I love Harn World, Harn Master rules. They have some issues, in my opinion. In general, it seems like there's a lot of decision making with little payout. I think that's kind of the consensus for Harn and for Harn Master. But the Harn World is really cool. I got to play a priest of Ilvir, which is the living god who creates monsters. And I really had a good time with it. Really good GM who ran it. It's very much a medieval world, and there's medieval sensibilities, a sense of, I feel like a sense of like duty to one's liege lord, and then the rule of law. And I had a really I think it's something you can find maybe on Lithia.com. We were trying to find, so we were a merchant company, our boss died, and we were out of work. So it so happens that we're in this town, and a important relic gets stolen from one of the churches, not the Church of Ilvir, but a different church, and then we have to go hunt for it. And I thought that was pretty good. Had a good time with Harn. I've run it, but it's nice to play and get someone else's interpretation of it. And the second game I played was Mecha Hack, run by Eric Salzwedel of the Omega Chicken Coop 3D podcast. He doesn't podcast so much, but I will say, if you ever, and he runs Mecha Hack often, either at an online con like BSercon, or he runs it live at Gamehole Con in Wisconsin, and he brings like his minis, his mechas that he builds with his 3D printer. And I've heard it's an amazing game online. I'm sure it's doubly, triply, quadruply enhanced if you play it live with all the minis. But if you can ever get in one of Eric Salzwedel's Mecha Hack games, I highly recommend it. We had a really fun time. My character was called Salvation Darkness. Embrace salvation, embrace the darkness. It was fun. I really liked the mechanic. The use of the Mecha Hack rule system, which is like a derivation of Black Hack for mechas, and very science fiction-y, very anime in feel. Eric gets into it and does the voices, so we in turn got into it and did the voices. We had it's a game where you can do the one-liners and have fun doing one-liners, so we really enjoyed that. So I guess now on to Saturday, Amy. I guess on Saturday it seems like we played. Well, the next 3 games we actually played together. Is that right?
The remaining ones we did.
Yeah. So.
But you know what else I forgot to mention?
What's that?
This was my first time playing on that Foundry.
Oh, right. So I don't know. I feel like I haven't figured out Foundry. I have it, but there's a lot of like study that needs to be done. I guess I'm more comfortable with Roll20, and I'm starting to get comfortable with Fantasy Grounds. But Foundry is relatively new for me. I used it last year at BSercon, and I haven't really used it since. So I guess the guys at BSercon really like to use it.
I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. It kept crashing and telling me to change my screen resolution. And I have a decently new computer, and it did the same thing on my phone. So I don't know if it was just the game was that way, but I wasn't overly impressed.
Yeah, I got a lot of screen resolution warnings. I don't know if it was issues with warnings, but what was interesting to me is that it wanted me to go to a worse resolution, which I didn't understand. It worked fine. I just ignored it and kept going.
Yeah.
But, all right, so the next game we played
the Obsidian Bat.
Well, the adventure is called the Obsidian Bat, but it's called Blood. I can't, honestly, do you remember the name of the game system?
I don't. I just know it.
All right, the game was called Righteous Blood, Ruthless Blades, and the adventure we played was Obsidian Bat. We're not going to talk so much about the adventure because it is in the book. It's one of there's 2 adventures, I think, in the actual rule book. It's a Righteous Blood, Ruthless Blades. It's an Osprey game, and like Amy was saying, the game system was pretty easy.
Yeah, it's roll your d10s. So on your character sheet, your stats have a certain number of d10s that you roll. And so if you go up to do something, like if you're fighting, I had martial arts, and there's 3 levels of martial arts. And the level of martial arts I was using, I had 2 d10s. So I would throw 2 d10s and take the highest. And if I didn't have any d10s in that skill, I'd roll 2 d10s and take the lowest.
Right. So it's like, and then you hit a target number. The default target number is 6, but it can go up or down depending on the difficulty. There are some in this adventure that were 7 or higher, I believe. But it was a pretty fun adventure. I feel like it was almost the same adventure as the Talisman of Valon, the Harn adventure, except we were transporting the thing that we were stealing or that was stolen. I played like a drunken master, a drunken hero, a la Jackie Chan in Drunken Master. And Amy, who did you play?
I played a Chi Master Doctor.
Right. So Amy did like acupuncture and hit people with sticks, and we all had a lot of quirks. And I think we really got into it. I really got into the drunkenness and did stupid things like, seeing double and all the kind of tropes you'd expect with being drunk. And Amy did her own thing as a doctor. Like what was your doctor's quirk?
Well, I would do 2 things. I had a big stick, which I used towards the end because that was kind of fun to hit people with a big stick. But for most of it, I was internalizing my chi and attacking their ability to do things. Like, there's sticks, I believe, that I could choose from to do. And I had an attack. We had these attack numbers that would increase or decrease based on the number of fights you're in and won. And we started at 0. So there was nobody that was lower than us. But I would roll to make my chi. And then after that, I would roll my martial arts. And I could do things like pinch a nerve in their neck so then they couldn't react. Or I could pinch a piece of the spine and their back, and then they could no longer heal. Things of that nature. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I think it's very evocative of the sort of Shaw Brothers, wuxia style genre. I felt it's pretty easy. The game system definitely does not get in the way. And the GM said that there's a lot of description or over description in some of the powers, but I guess I don't feel that way. I like how the powers described, and it kind of can inspire the player to describe how it works. Like I had one thing that I used to great effect, which was like I could belch or vomit up the alcohol that I had in my system, and it caused damage, like an acid breath or something. It was pretty gross and pretty crazy. We had another player that played with us who played a bow master, and the running joke, because he only used his bow, well, he used his bow effectively twice, but only at the end. But he kept shooting and missing things, which was kind of funny. So,
well, at first he wasn't shooting at all.
Right.
So, as the chi master, I had to say that you're not an archer. You're scared of bows, and you're scared of the arching, right, and the arrows.
Right. So, so that was that game. I think it ended pretty well. I would actually like to read through the book. I have the book. I hadn't read the adventure. I got the book because I like these little Osprey one-shot type role-playing games. I'd probably read through it and then maybe run the adventure at a con or run it for my group or something. I thought it was pretty fun. And since the GM, who's Carl on the BSercon, thank you so much for running. Oh, he also ran the Talisman of Valon, the Harn game for me, so it was really fun. Again, to have him as a GM, but he gave us pre-gens, so I'll probably use those pre-gens if I run this at some point. So the next game, Amy, the next game was very interesting. I ran this next game.
Oh, yes. It's a childhood favorite. It was Hot Potato. Yes. But we're not exactly talking about potatoes, and nor were they hot.
No, it's Operation Hot Potato, so there's a lot of popos on the road today.
There are.
So, Operation Hot Potato, so Jason Hobbs and Jason Connerly gave me this idea that I could run an adventure sort of that would become part of the canon of our ongoing Twilight 2000 campaign, and run it at a con and see what happens with different characters than the main characters. So, right, so in my ongoing Twilight 2000 campaign, we have something called the Free Krakow Coalition. It's a mixture of German, Polish, and Americans who have settled in Krakow and kind of now are about platoon strength, have several armored vehicles, and they do things for Krakow, have done missions or will do missions, or are very involved in the politics and faction infighting of Krakow. And right, so there's a lot of other NPCs that are part of this group. So I took some of the NPCs. So I made, I took up Justine Barrett, who is a medic. Sergeant Justine Barrett, who's a medic. I took a Staff Sergeant Albert Wilkins, who is a ex-ranger sniper type. And then I grabbed Elvis Castillo, who is a red leg, so a mortarman, heavy weapons specialist. And then I grabbed an NPC that the players had interacted with during the Krakow stuff.
It's one of Kasha's favorite friends.
Yes, Dmitry Ozlowski, who is a lieutenant or captain in the Warda, the sort of police force that works with or protects the leader of Krakow. And I gave him a jeep, gave him all their equipment, and they sent him off. I think the other cool thing I did is I gave each of the players a secret, and that would come into play. And I think all the players use their secrets, right?
Oh, yes.
So,
well, not all the secrets. Elvis didn't use all of his secrets.
Elvis didn't? I thought he did.
No, he didn't tell us everything about Dmitri.
No, he didn't know about Dmitri. No, Dmitri didn't use all of the secrets.
No.
Dmitri didn't. But you guys never got to it. But anyway, they all had a secret. I thought it was cool. I feel like the players really got into it. I guess Amy will comment after I give my. I think they really got into it. They got into like the accents and all that kind of stuff. So
it was hard not to be a Polish/Russian doctor.
Right. So, but the Polish policeman got into his Polish accent, and I think Elvis and the players who played Elvis and Wilkins got into the Kentucky, southern sort of general South accent and Kentuckian, and then Amy played Justine Barrett, so from Texas.
Texas girl.
Yeah.
Remember the Alamo? That was her motto.
Yeah, so I think it went really well. I mean, some canon things that happened for sure was like they dealt with the outcasts, And the outcasts were a group of American soldiers who tried to sort of stage a coup for the leadership of the survivors before they got to Krakow, before they settled in Krakow. And the player characters stopped them, and then did not kill them, but instead kind of marched them to Krakow and had them become part of the work camps or work groups. But Wilkins learned or had a secret that while they were working for the leader of Krakow, Little Josef, there was a general of the Polish army forces, the Ormo, that also are rivals for power, and the general bragged that he had his own group of Americans, and the player characters didn't really like him, so a lot of the NPCs didn't really like this group, and they kind of took him out. How do you think that battle went? That was our first combat in this game. How do you think it went?
It went well, but we didn't take them all out. I saved one.
Right, so...
The one that Justine liked, that recovered on the bed with her way back in the farm before we ever got to Krakow.
Right, yeah, so Justine was saved by Kasha in the canon of our game, and then Justine then helped this other group of POWs who had like typhoid, helped them to recover, so while she was recovering as well. So yeah, they saved this one guy. I don't remember his... I want to say Hall, but it wasn't Hall.
Hughes, I thought.
Pratt. It was Pratt. Yeah, she saved Private Pratt, but the other ones, so Cruz, Hodges, and some other dude, all got whacked pretty good. Well, the thing is, like, Justine could only save one of them as they were bleeding out because they got shot up pretty bad.
But she's not a doctor, she's just combat.
Yeah, like a combat nurse.
Medic.
Yeah, EMT combat nurse. All right, we're going to pause right here since we just got home, but we'll get right. I think well, we're back. There was a pause there. Amy's still here.
I'm here.
But I need a pause and kind of give maybe the pitch for Operation Hot Potato. So, the player characters in our ongoing campaign met John Paul II in Krakow at St. Mary's Cathedral. He was kind of hiding out there, acting incognito. Historically, John Paul II had a very intimate relationship with Krakow. He was a cardinal in that diocese way back. And when the World War III broke out, I sort of had him return to Krakow. And what he's trying to do is make Poland... Well, I'm not going to give the motivation for the Pope because I would ruin it for Amy, who's sitting right here. But the Pope has a plan. Part of that plan involves an artifact called the Black Madonna, which is this holy relic that it was presumably lost earlier in the war when the Americans nuked Czestochowa, the city Czestochowa, and was held or on display at a monastery there. So the Pope wanted to make it fun and go and get it, fund an expedition there, go with his men to go get it. During the course of that attempt, not knowing that actually the player characters went to Czestochowa and recovered the Black Madonna, but he went in that direction, but was caught by the warlord of Cilicia, a Julian Filipowicz, and he was, presumably a guest, but kind of held against his own will in a way. And then he, I guess, JP2 or one of his men that went with him under duress told the warlord of Cilicia that Krakow had the Black Madonna. So then the warlord sends a messenger to Krakow and says, hey, we'll give you back your Pope if you give us a Black Madonna. So the group has the Black Madonna, and they're taking it to Rasobor, which is the capital, or the warlord of Cilicia's capital. That's the sort of assumption. Now, I thought what was cool is right off the bat, the player who played Dimitri, because I gave everyone a secret, like I said, kind of pulled over to the side and said, all right, I got a secret. The Black Madonna that we have in this case is not the Black Madonna. It's a fake. So that kind of set a good stage for the characters to really trust each other, I thought.
I thought so.
Yeah. So then they met the outcast on the road. They saw the outcast before the outcast saw them, and sort of the outcasts were setting up an ambush. And I felt like initially I was just going to do encounter 1, encounter 2, encounter 3, but I changed my mind while I was running, and I wanted to kind of give the feel of the Twilight 2000 verse. So I kind of did things in the 4-hour shifts that you do while you travel. I didn't keep track of food or water because I don't think that was really that important in a 2 or 3 day excursion that this was going to be between Krakow and Rasobors. But I did keep track of fuel. That was a consideration. One of the players asked, "Okay, do we have enough fuel? Are we going to have enough fuel to go there and back?"
But we had a still.
They had a small still just as an emergency in case, and they had a lot of other equipment. So they defeated and had an encounter and defeated the outcast. That was actually Wilkins' secret. He knew about this. And I think they did another interesting thing, which even though it wasted fuel, they didn't want to go through any of they kind of went off-road a lot, which wasted fuel, in my opinion. But it also, do you think that was a good decision to go around all the hot spots, so they went through an area which got nuked during the early stages of the war, and they kind of went around all those areas because they didn't want to risk radiation. What do you think?
You should know the answer to that because Kasha had everybody going around in the regular T2K. Avoiding a conflict is the better way of surviving is Kasha's motto. And
I guess Barrett has that same motto.
But it wasn't Barrett who suggested that. It was Castillo and Dimitri that decided not driving in there.
Yeah, I think.
And if I don't need to go there, I'm not going there because I'm not going to blow up. And they were just absolutely terrified of radiation.
Right. Well, I think that's interesting too because Castillo actually I think had the most rads because probably has seen the most conflict. Probably Castillo and Wilkins had like 3 rads, whereas Barrett and Dimitri had like a couple, right, over their lifetime. So I think that's what kind of maybe prompted and scared them. But Castillo also is like as they were kind of avoiding all these hot spot areas of some towns that have been nuked, towns and cities that have been nuked. Castillo remembered his secret, and he said, "Hey, I know there's a cache of heavy weapons that we can get to." So I thought that ended up being a fun little encounter. It was kind of very off the cuff. Maybe you can talk about it a little bit, Amy. The old man, the old man and stuff.
Well, we went off into the little town
on the off road. Into the forest, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Off near the little road. And then we bent around, and then he kind of forgot where he was going, and then he remembered. And then we got to basically a cave, a little bit before the cave, and he said, "Oh, it's over there." And so we pull up to the cave, and there's this old man there. And I want to say it was Wilkins that got out first.
No, it's Castillo, because it's Castillo's secret.
Well, but I thought Wilkins went off to a bush to overwatch. Well,
probably.
Castillo went in to talk to the old man because we didn't know if we were going to have to take him out or what. And he was just, we thought, talking nonsense. So, Castillo was talking to him a little bit. Barrett got out, treated him for his medical wounds, gave him some, antibiotics.
And sedated him.
To a degree, drugged him.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes being drugged in T2K.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Kasha doing it.
And Dimitri's the one who talked to him because this man was Polish and kind of had a smattering of English here and there, but it was nonsense to Castillo and the others. But Dimitri talked to him, but it was still sort of nonsense. And this man was dressed as, like, for lack of a better analogy, he was like dressed like a wizard. Had a staff and everything. Had rags as his cloak, and I thought it was a fun encounter. I loved having strange NPCs, but hey, the important thing is Castillo found the cache of mortars. There's a couple M224 60mm mortars and a case each of different ammo, which I thought was a good. I thought it was a good. It was a good detour.
It was a good detour, and we got some intel because he kept talking about the different things that were happening out in the hills that we might encounter, even though we didn't understand exactly what he was talking about. And he was talking about, as it turns out, cavalry.
Right. Yeah, he talked about centaurs and bears and the queen, and it made no sense. But I think some of the players got the hints, which was kind of cool.
We figured it out. I would say a little bit after we left, we figured that something was heading our way.
Yeah.
We were expecting fire bombs because if there's centaurs and all these other things, there's got to be a dragon somewhere, but there wasn't.
Right. They did flee a fire. There was like a fire, or they heard some explosions in the morning, like artillery fire, some sort of conflict, and then they fled, or they went back towards their original path. Again, went off road, avoiding the radiation spots, and then ran into what I was dubbed encounter number 2, which was a checkpoint. And I thought that was gonna I thought there was gonna be gunplay, but I think kudos to the player. To me, who, if there was an MVP in the game, it would have been. I know some other characters sacrificed themselves. We'll get to that, but the guy who played Dimitri really played and stuck to his character, and he kind of was very honest. So effectively, what the checkpoint wanted, the checkpoint saw them first. Unfortunately, usually it's the other way around, and I roll like crap for my recon, and the players roll really well. But this time, the checkpoint saw them.
You picked a weird time to pray to the dice god.
Yeah, I did, and then so Dimitri talked to them, and they said that, hey, you could take the Americans as a gift to the warlord of Cilicia. We'll escort you to Rastibor's, and the players did not like that idea, and I think that was a good decision by Dimitri not to betray them because he trusts them and they're friends, right? So I think that was well established, which was pretty cool. So then they kind of took off. There was a little chase, through the hills, and they lost the cavalry. So literally, the Cilicia in the verse has horse cavalry, and they call themselves the Cilician Lancers. They have a lance and like an AK, which is kind of funny and kind of weird, kind of quirky. But that's, I don't know. I feel a lot of these warlords are kind of off, right? Like Yosef is a little off. This Cilician warlord's probably off too.
They probably have plenty of rads going on.
Yeah, maybe a lot of radiation to the brain or something. So anyway, so they kind of go off road, and then they split up. One group stays with because Amy's character Barrett saved Pratt, one of the outcasts, and they were kind of hauling him along in the Jeep. So a couple people, so Dimitri and Castillo stay with the Jeep, and then Amy's character has a secret, which is to contact this group called the Nazarene, which are American. They're allied with American Defense Intelligence, and there's a group in Krakow, and they're a network that works with American intelligence, they're effectively partisans in the central Poland, southern Poland region. But Amy's character Barrett and Wilkins go to try to get, because they can't reach him, and they try to get closer to Rastibor's to reach him. So that was kind of a little frustrating. It's the only time I've seen like a series of like bad rolls from you guys, even with pushes and stuff. That was kind of unfortunate, but it worked in the end.
Well,
I think
we pushed enough that we destroyed our radio.
Yeah. So like,
and it wasn't just me. Wilkins couldn't do it either.
And so then they decide to sneak into some of the mining camps or towns around Rastibor's, and then meanwhile, unfortunately, sitting around in the hills outside of town, maybe like 10 kilometers outside of town, Dimitri and Castillo have a run-in with some cavalry, like a cavalry patrol.
I would like to point out it was not intentional sitting around. Dimitri did an incredible move to miss a rock, and he stalled out the engine.
That was later, I thought.
No. That's why they were waiting there and we had to leave.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they had to kind of repair or get the vehicle out of a ditch, but eventually the patrol found him. There was a short exchange of gunfire, and they took out this. They made sure they took out this Cilician patrol. Unfortunately, some animals were killed, some horses were killed, but or put down because they're riding horses, these Cilician guys. So they took those guys out, and then they eventually met Amy's character, Barrett and Wilkins, back in outside the mining camp. They had a great plan. They were able to get the Nazarene together, and I think the player who played Castillo says, "I gotta use these mortars." So they didn't want to negotiate with this warlord. They had found out actually from the outcast from Pratt that they knew where the Pope was being held in the Carter Castle compound. So Castillo fires some smoke. The Nazarene gives some cover fire. Wilkins and Barrett go in and rescue the Pope, and one of his men is in bad shape. So Barrett helps to stabilize him and at least help him limp out. And then there's another, Swiss guard, bodyguard for the Pope who comes with them. And then I think this is great distraction, and it bought him some time. Castillo fired a white phosphorus grenade onto one of the buildings and caught it on fire. And then they were able to escape out. And then unfortunately, luck ran out for Dimitri, where he got a critical failure on his driving roll. I was just going to have him in the breakout have a driving roll to see if another chase to see if they got out of. I don't think they want to fight hundreds of cavalry and armored vehicles. They saw a main battle tank, a T-80 in the compound where the castle was. So they kind of fled, but various mishaps happened, right? I mean, that was kind of...
Somewhat, but it was fun for him to shoot the mortar into the building.
Yeah, I think that was really cool. So I think the player said, well, we crashed, so my character, he decided that his character got thrown out, and then he decided that his character was going to sacrifice himself as a distraction, and he let out he detonated a white phosphorus mortar attached to a high explosive, and caused a distraction, which allowed Amy's character and Wilkins to get away with the Pope. The Pope's man who had been tortured and injured died. Pratt died, but also
Pratt went out in a blaze of glory,
right?
Because
yeah, well, so Dimitri tried to get away and couldn't. He was captured, but then Pratt fired. So the group had an anti-tank weapon, an Armbrust, a German anti-tank weapon, and Pratt, right before he was captured and shot up, fired the Armbrust at the troop carrier. I think it was an OT-65 that was hauling Dimitri back to Cilicia for interrogation. And the cool thing was that Dimitri had one chance to, if he had failed his coolness under fire roll, he would have just been recaptured. But Dimitri made his coolness under fire as a tank or the armored vehicle got hit, and then staggered out while the other troops, the Cilician troops, kind of were running around like chickens with their heads cut off because their vehicle got hit with a heavy weapon. So Dimitri's able to wander off into the wilderness, and stressed out and partially injured, kind of collapses somewhere out in the wilderness. Whereas where we left it, Wilkins and Barrett,
and the Pope and
one Swiss guard
are heading back. I am assuming that we're able to repair a vehicle that we find and get back. I don't think we're going to be able to play that 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to play it out, but I might just do it as a series of rolls in the background to see if they actually make it back to Krakow. But we'll see. So I'm going to pause here for a second while we rev up and get the channel ready for the next game.
Your podcast and score.
the last game, Amy and I played together also. This seems to be a common theme, but it was fine. We played games when we're not both there, which I think is a good thing to do, and we did that at ChupacabraCon too. So yeah, the last game we played, I'm gonna let Amy talk about it mostly. It was a game of also Savage Worlds, and it was like Savage Worlds where we got to play like cartoon characters.
It was great. It's called Savage Worlds Harvey's Heroes. So basically,
and it was run by
Mason Emerson. Basically, Mason and his daughter created this game. His daughter did all the artwork for it, created all the characters, decided what they were going to be. And I want to say between the two of them, this is a homebrew that they're working on. It was a ton of fun because I guess as he was explaining, it's like getting up and playing the Saturday morning cartoons.
Right, like Looney Tunes, totally.
Mm-hmm. Like Looney Tunes, Merry Melodies, Tom and Jerry, that kind of thing. And they even had a theme song for Harvey the Wonder Hamster, and how he leads his squad of wisecracking toony rodents against the inevitable cat, Aloysius.
Right, so if you can imagine like a Tom Jerry cartoon, this was totally it, like where the rodents are trying to avoid the cat. So I played Harvey.
You played Harvey the Wonder Hamster.
Right.
And I played Gwen, the guinea pig with the magical red bow.
And Amy did a voice. Can you do the voice on demand, Amy?
I certainly can. This is Gwen, and she loves Harvey.
Yep. It definitely got everyone into it. We had another player character played Jimmy the Rat, who did like a really cool like Brooklyn, New York type of accent.
Like a gangster rat. He was half tuna.
And we had another player who actually incidentally is M.W. Lewis of the Worlds of M.W. Lewis, played Carlos the Chinchilla, who was like a martial artist chinchilla, which I thought was pretty cool.
And he gave that rodent a really good backstory.
Yeah, the backstory that MW gave was pretty awesome.
And he just made it
like
up.
he kind of like when Mason told them that, well, yeah, they make fur coats out of chinchillas. He like gave a backstory of how he escaped from a chinchilla farm
and how he did it.
It was pretty cool. So yeah, I thought we had a really good time there. So one of the cool things I thought was he kind of ran it. He kind of gave all of us like a quote unquote superpower, and he threw in this, which gives me a great idea if I ever want to run like a Toon style game. Maybe I'll take these pre-gens and run something for them. I'll study out some Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes cartoons, and maybe do like the Barber of Seville. It'd be kind of funny.
Well, actually, Carl, I think he and his daughter are working on trying to get this written up and published in Q4.
Oh, really cool.
You know what you should do? You should have Mason on the podcast to learn more about it, and his incredible foundation that he has called ACE, where he teaches young children how to be GMs so they have a creative output for what's going on in their lives.
That's great.
It's amazing.
Well, I think we've already talked to him. I think he will be in an interview sometime soon.
I hope so.
Right. So the cool thing that Mason did is he had this ability that all the player characters had called Toonie, and it was kind of like that, ordering something from Acme and getting it, kind of putting, like how the Roadrunner would draw a tunnel in the rock and escape, or anything silly that you can think of that's not really covered by any of the other abilities that you can have, abilities or skills you can have in Savage Worlds. So I think it really worked. I had a fun drawing a hole in the floor.
Oh, yes. And you know what? Bennies.
Oh,
we got bennies for all kinds of things.
Yeah, we got a lot of bennies in this game.
And we all know I'm a Benny whore.
Yep, so a Benny hoarder. That's what she said, Benny hoarder. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a game where you want the bennies to fly, and the bennies definitely flew. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the intention of the GM in this game. And I know some people have an issue with bennies and metacurrency, but I mean, for Suede, it just makes it fun and feel heroic and feel crazy. And that's, if you're emulating, I think, a Looney Tunes game, I think that's what you want to do.
I think so too.
Yeah, so we really had a lot of fun. We summoned the dog, as you've seen in many a Tom and Jerry cartoon, to chase the cat that was chasing us.
Aloysius.
And poor Aloysius, I feel like Aloysius died a couple times.
But Sir Jameson, you got to admit, he looked mighty fine in his smoking jacket.
Right. Yes, it was really, we got the dog going. It was like a little, I guess it was like a little British bulldog type of thing, and really fun to summon the dog. We raided the kitchen, all the kind of fun tropes that you can have. It turns out Carlos, the chinchilla, was a chef. Jimmy the rat, as rats go, kind of gorged himself, much like Templeton did in Charlotte's Web. So we threw in all the tropes that we could, and we had a really good chase. I think Mason, another highlight for me was when Mason ran the end chase scene. That was really fun. Aloysius used his own toonie to summon a cannon. Harvey plugged the cannon with an apple.
Jimmy kept taking the wick out.
And Jimmy kept taking the wick out. Eventually, the apple plug trick worked, and it was pretty cool. Very satisfying, very fun. We avoided the bigs, as and poor Aloysius was blamed for all the trouble. And I guess the cut scene was poor Aloysius outside with his little hobo bag, kind of begging to come back in. I don't know. What do you think?
I think Aloysius was quite happy to get away from the Looney Tunes that were living in that house.
Possibly.
I mean, Sir Jameson, man, his doghouse was fine. He had leather couches, a fireplace, cigars, whiskey. A
ferret servant.
Very, very adorable.
Yeah, it was really cool. We had fun. I really enjoyed it. A really good conclusion to a really fun BSercon weekend. I think the organizers of BSercon, from the Gaming and BS, former Gaming and BS podcast, led by Sean P. Kelly and others, and I had a great time. I joined. I wasn't sure if I was going to participate, but I'm so glad that people like Jason Connerly virtually twisted my arm to get me to run a game and to play. And thank you guys, the double Jasons, for inspiring me to run a game, figure out Operation Hot Potato. And it was really cool. One of the players said, yeah, he's done it before too. Like, he had a convention game that ended up being a canon or part of the history of his ongoing campaign, which I think is a kind of cool thing to do.
Yeah, you know what the other really cool part of your game was?
What?
I think we're going to pick up a player that's going to consistently play with us in the future.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, it's a good way to advertise a game, and I really enjoy Twilight 2000. It's very deadly. Like, two of the, like, if you don't get the jump on a group, you're done for, but there is some luck too, because Castillo's position in the against the fight with the Outcast got lit up that one time, and then it was just a die roll to see how much of the damage got mitigated, and fortunately it was all of it from the cover. Even the cover got shot to hell. So sometimes better lucky than good, right? So I think that game, 2000, shows that. So I really enjoyed it, and it was fun to play with you, and fun to play with all the other people we played with.
Oh, I had a great time, and I already know the dates for next year and put them on the calendar.
Great, that's awesome.
Maybe we'll have to do Operation Hot Potato, maybe twice baked.
I don't know. I think I might try to design something that takes place in the U.S. I'll just have to, it would be great to do something like in Texas. Like, there's a really cool product called Lone Star Red Star, where the San Antonio is occupied by some Soviet guard units. So that'd be kind of fun. It'd be like a Red Dawn, but in South Texas.
I don't know that Kasha wants to go to America. We have to see.
Oh, Kasha won't be there. It'll be other totally new players.
She has to take her at Jonesy. He's always getting into trouble. Lost an ear, now he's lost a leg.
Yep.
It's simply a surface wound. Isn't that what they say?
Flesh wound. Just a flesh wound. All right. Well, Amy, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
And I had a good time at BSercon. I hope you did too.
I did too. Bye-bye.
Bye. there you go. Thank you very much for listening. This has been the Geomologist Presents, with cats knocking stuff down. So if you want to comment on this, contact Amy or I. You can do so by sending an email with a voice message or a text message to geomologist@gmail.com. You can also find me on the various Discords and drop me a voice recorded message through there. Any format, MP4, MP3 will do. You can also leave me a message using SpeakPipe, my SpeakPipe account, which is linked here. And then you can also try, though it's not super great, to send me a message to the Anchor website. It has a lot of issues, just like Anchor has continuing to have issues here and there because they want you to switch to Spotify clearly. All right. Again, thank you so much for listening. The cover clip art is by Amy Lee, and the music, intro and outro music, is by TJ Drennan. So thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.